What's going on, everyone? So, all of my concerns about the New Orleans Pelicans, and in particular Brandon Ingram, are starting to come to a head. We'll dive into it here, but got reports that Brandon Ingram did not attend the mini camp. It was voluntary, got to make that clear. But Brandon Ingram did not attend a week-long voluntary mini camp held by the Pelicans players in California, per Will Galori. The minicamp featured every player on the roster except for Ingram and recent signee Daniel Tice, which is understandable, right? Just got there. He's probably trying to get acclimated, trying to get everything together, trying to get into a new city and get set up. Okay. And then the Pelicans believed Ingram would be there, but he never showed, according to team sources. And this has been my biggest problem and why I say I think the Pelicans have a real issue on their hands, right? Now, on the surface, you look at the Pelicans and it's like, man, they could be a problem, right? You got a new body transformation, just became Super Boo, Zion Williamson. You have a DeJounte Murray who, if he can regain any type of form that he had with the San Antonio Spurs, could be exactly what the Pelicans need. They really needed somebody that kind of put it all together, be that point of attack at the guard position, as well as, be able to score the basketball, but make plays for others. You got CJ McCollum, who he can go off and get hot at any time, which there's a lot of talks about him potentially being the sixth man. If he buys in and embraces that, that could be huge, kind of give you that scorer off the bench, and you can go kind of bigger with like a Herb Jones or, a Troy Murphy, right? Like, you got some options there. Brandon Ingram, he when he's healthy and on, cook with the best of them, right? Gives you that kind of co-star alongside Zion. And then it was like, okay, the center position is a little bit issue, a little concern, but maybe they can figure it out, right? But now you start looking at all the little pieces to the puzzle here. Brandon Ingram's disgruntled. He wants out. He doesn't want to be there. The Pelicans want to get rid of him. Pelicans don't want to pay him. The Pelicans don't want to keep him. The Pelicans have done everything they can, basically willing to give him away in order to just get off of him, and they can't find anything. Brandon Ingram's team has been actively trying to find trades for Brandon Ingram, and they can't find anything for Brandon Ingram because no one wants to pay Brandon Ingram, who only plays 40 games a year, who's not a number one option. He's probably not even a number two option, closer to a number three option. $45 million a year or 40 plus million a year, right? He wants $40 million a year. He's just not going to get that. It doesn't make any sense. There's no team, especially with the new CBA and everything. Brandon Ingram is more likely than not going to be the first casualty of the new CBA, right? He's going to be one of those guys that maybe not get 40 million, but probably would have gotten like 35 million, maybe 30 million, and is now only going to get like 20, maybe 25 million because he can't stay healthy. He's not your best player on a championship team or a real good team, right? Like he's has his problems, right? Like you start going down the list, start checking off boxes here, and it's like, wait a minute, there's a little problem here. And one of the things that I talked about is that if Brandon Ingram doesn't buy in and Brandon Ingram becomes a problem, the Pelicans are cooked, right? There is this idea that, hey, the Pelicans could be very good and make some noise. I mean, Pelicans have had stretches where they were the best team in the league, where they were the number one seed, right? Like in the Western Conference, right? They have had stretches where they look very good. But then Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson just can't stay healthy. One, if not both, end up getting hurt, and then all hope is lost. But the idea was like, okay, DeJounte Murray kind of weather some of that, help you in that regard, right? If he can kind of get back to that all-NBA, all defensive type player, that all-star level player, that could be huge for the Pelicans, right? But again, like, if you're just essentially replacing Brandon Ingram for DeJounte Murray, then the Pelicans aren't really that much better. I do think that they're a little better because I do think that you still get the playmaking that you get from DeJounte Murray. You still get another guy that go get you 20 on any given night, right? You still have guys like a Herb Jones and a Troy Murphy who you can kind of plug in and put and slot in at the Brandon Ingram spot, which there's even an argument that may even be better for this team overall. But again, regardless, it's tough for the Pelicans to be in this position because they're kind of in a rock and a hard place. They're this team that has aspirations and has talent and, has guys that, if all the components kind of fit nicely, could potentially be a dark horse team or be in the conference final. Again, Trey Murphy, he's a guy that is been very good and very versatile for him. Got good size, good length, kind of play the 3, play the 4. You got Herb Jones, one of the best on-ball defenders. It just dawned on me that I was saying Troy Murphy. I don't know why I was saying Troy Murphy earlier. Got other sport athlete in my head, but Trey Murphy. Trey Murphy. We'll see how many people made it to this part of the video, because I'm sure I'll get some comments from people that are like, it's Trey Murphy. But yeah, just popped in my head. I was like, wait a minute, I said Troy. But I digress, right? You got versatile wings. You got overall, you got nice pieces off the bench. You just added that point guard you need. You can bring CJ off the bench. You can start him. You can go. There's a million ways that you can kind of configure this roster. Again, the center position for the Pelicans is a bit concerning, but if everything works out, I do think the Pelicans can kind of manage that position. Again, you got several guys, not really ideal experienced guys, but you do have several guys that kind of fill in that gap. You could always move Zion to the center spot if you absolutely had to and kind of go small ball and then kind of have that Ingram, Murphy, Herb Jones out there on the perimeter, and you're just like really good defending out on the perimeter along with DeJounte Murray, especially if he can, like I said, regain his type of defense from the San Antonio Spurs days, right? Like the Pelicans could be a very formidable team. They could be a very tough team to beat and take down. But if you're just swapping Brandon Ingram for DeJounte Murray, I don't think you're that much better. I don't think you're much better at all. And then on top of that, if you can't trade Brandon Ingram, and now you have Brandon Ingram, and he's just disengaged, and he's not bought in, and he's not playing to the best of his ability, and all of a sudden he has, in quotes, back tightness or something like that, and he misses 50 games, right? Like, because he just doesn't want to play for you, and he doesn't want to, like, we've seen this script, right? We've seen this story before. And it's just like, is this really what is best for the Pelicans? Right? I mean, at this point, you're almost better off just selling him just for salary. Like, don't even try to get anything from him. Just, hey, find a team that's willing to just take him, maybe clear off some side. Because getting pieces that are willing to play and actually want to play and actually will show up to training camp. Like, what happens if Brandon Ingram just doesn't show up to training camp? Right? Like, now the Pelicans, in my opinion, are even in bigger trouble. Right? Because now, you're going to have a disconnected, disengaged Brandon Ingram who, you already have issues with him just staying healthy. But now, even when he is healthy, he's not going to be giving you the production that you need. And, like some people, will say, oh, he's in a contract year, he can't do that. Like, somebody's going to pay him something. There's a team that'll probably, he's going to make 15, 20 million minimum, right? There's a team that'll take a flyer on him. There's a team that will, pay him something. Even if he just like sat out all season, somebody would pay him something. And he knows that. He's not foolish. Now the 40 million, but again, who's giving him 40 plus million a year? I mean, the only teams that really have cap space next year are teams like San Antonio and like Detroit and stuff like that. None of those teams are paying Brandon Ingram 40 million a year. Would they pay Brandon Ingram maybe 20 million? Sure, possibly, maybe take a flyer on him. And chances are Brandon Ingram's not even going to get like a 4-year deal or anything like that. He's probably looking at, like a prove it deal, right? You might get a team that gives him, maybe 40 million for 1 year because they just kind of need to fill in some salary, right? Kind of go the JJ Redick rule where, you kind of just get this inflated contract for the year, right? As like a placeholder, right? Could a team maybe do that? And it's like, if you can do this, then maybe we'll give you 30 million a year or something like that, possibly. But it's just, again, like, I like the Pelicans on paper. I do. I think the Pelicans on paper have the potential to be good, not great. Right? Again, you get the right matchups, right? You kind of fall face first into the conference finals. All of a sudden, you look up and, maybe you're in the NBA finals, particularly if, like, they can figure out a way to get a center. Honestly, in a perfect world, if you could turn Brandon Ingram into, like, Miles Turner, that would be huge. Huge for them, right? Because now you got basically DeJounte Murray, Zion Williamson, Miles Turner, and CJ McCollum with Troy Murphy or Trey Murphy. I don't know why I keep saying Troy. Trey Murphy and Herb Jones, right? Like, I think you're in a really good position at that point, right? Like, you could even go like Murray, Jones, Murphy, Zion, and like Miles Turner. Whew, that could be tough. That could be real tough. But yeah, like if they can solve their center position at some point, that being now or the trade deadline, then I do think, again, you get a Brandon Ingram bought in. If DeJounte Murray can kind of find his footing and his natural fit with that team, I think the Pelicans could be a problem. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, and I pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you like the Pelicans? Do you think, like, they're going to be good? Do you have concerns about Brandon Ingram? Do you think, no, like, they'll figure it out, always works out? Do you think, like, it doesn't really matter, they're not winning anything anyway? Again, how do you feel? Whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. We enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.